Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. My name is Robere Kazadi, and this is Behind the Business. Today, my guest is Thomas Gabriele of the Wispr Network, and he has a very interesting approach to real estate and a ton of information to share with all of us. So, first of all, Thomas, thank you so much. Thanks for being here.
Robert, no, seriously, thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to talking to you and diving into all the changes and fun stuff happening in real estate.
Right?
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, cool. Let's dive right into it now. So tell me and my viewers, how did you get involved in real estate from the very beginning?
So I joke around, and my background is one where I entered sort of the professional realm. I graduated college in the mid 90s, business school in the early 2000s, just after 9/11. And when that was when the real estate market really had its biggest run, right? I think people would recognize outside of COVID, which was a little bit unique, that was going on. So I at first was somebody who really was like, what is happening in the real estate space? We've got technology, it's going to displace everything. And then I actually married a real estate agent. And so I got to see them. So I got involved through marriage. And actually, when I was in the first post business school world, I looked at a lot of lead gen businesses in and around real estate as a potential to, is there an opportunity to displace agents, or how do we work with agents, or how do we not? So that was my first taste of the marketplace. Married an agent after I saw that market go crazy, started to really gain an appreciation for what agents did and how they worked. And so it sort of came about probably about 22, 23 years ago now. So going back that time, and I've constantly stayed in the space, either on the lead generation side or the marketplace side. I spent a little time at auction.com in the mid 2014 timeframe, 2015 timeframe. I did some work for those guys. And then just generally around the business, my wife being a realtor, constantly looked at tech platforms for her and how to support her and her business. So it's been first an adjacent component of some of the things I was working on, but then continue to get more involved as I've gone through my career.
Cool. So for context, what were you doing before you decided to dive into the real estate industry?
Yeah, so prior to really diving in and working on the Wispr Network, I had spent my time with a lot of software companies, a lot of platform companies, a lot of marketplace companies in terms of how do I help them either build their marketplaces, run operations, run finance for different groups in the insurance tech space, in other lead gen spaces, or in social media. I actually spent a lot of time at MySpace and working in advertising technology. So I've spent a lot of time in those platforms, in those tools. How do we leverage technology in a lot of different ways? And so I got involved from that early phase on in around software, and that's where I've spent most of my early career.
Okay. So how long have you been with, I mean, you founded the Whisper Network. So how long has it been in existence?
So the Wispr Network in its current iteration has really been around from idea January of 23 until now. Previous to that, my wife was explaining to me some of the hardships she had around some other components within the real estate space. So we were working on another startup from 2017 to 2020. The pandemic sort of shuffled the deck on us, so we set things aside. And then I really started to idea and create this in the early part of the 2020s, like I said, beginning of 23. So this iteration came out of just, hey, what are the best agents doing? What's going on? And that got me really engaged into working onto a tech platform.
So I guess you're telling me then that the light bulb moment for you, as far as the creation of the Whisper Network, was when you decided or discovered with your wife that there was a great need for continued lead generation or a different way for agents to communicate with regards to the listings and the, oh, how should I say it? The pocket listings. I mean, I don't want to
I
use.
would, right. I would say it's more of a recognition of a summation of 20 years of technical involvement. And I started
Okay.
to this earlier. So let me go back. The aha moment for me was kind of again a culmination of a bunch of independent things that occurred. So I'm 52, not to blast out my age to the world, but I'm 52.
Well, you just did.
Yeah, right. So I spent my life pre-tech, like the internet hit when I was in college. Like that's when the first versions of Netscape Navigator and a Yahoo hyperlink situation or a Google like map. I was in college at that time. So I remember really before we had this crazy connectivity and crazy application. And then I grew up with us changing rapidly from BlackBerry type devices to iPhones to massive computers in your pocket and seeing all that happen. But when I lived in the world pre 2000, let's say, the world was very much connected person to person, individual to individual. Relationships really, really mattered. And when we had this really hardcore push towards technology, and I think you see this across markets and across all aspects of our society, and this is one leg to the stool. We've had more devices creating more connectivity, and there's a lot of research on this. I'm sure you can look it up that shows the more connected we are through digital means, the less we actually have real connection human to human, and we have less relationships. And I think my evidence I'd point to is the increased or the more awareness around cyberbullying, the things that happen with quote unquote misinformation and just divisiveness in our political environment. All this stuff has kind of happened the more we've been connected. And so that was one big thing that I'm like, personally, I believe we should stay more connected. And real estate was at the center of that 30 years ago. You needed to know your realtor. They needed to be a trusted advocate, a trusted advisor. So you valued their opinion, and they were able to unlock and find opportunities through you. The means were very much in an analog way, right? There was the book, and then there was the CD, and then agents started to put information online. And that's all great. But once it became a centralized repository like a Zillow, where the information was pushed directly to the consumer, there's benefit to that. Democratization of information is good. And so I took the world shifting away from people to people, which I think is critical to real estate. Having a human relationship is one of the pillars of our value. And I started to see this marketplace shift to where it felt like it was a do it yourself discovery market. Well, I found the property on Zillow. You're going to do that. I also recognized that the value that the agents were being recognized for was being eroded away. Some of them were able to maintain it, but what I started to see was that the best people continue to do business in that tried and true old fashioned manner. Even today, even in 2020, even in 2025, even in 2026, those agents who have developed real personalized relationships with their clients understand their wants and needs, not just I know the list, I can find it, but truly have a connection and trust within those relationships are the most successful. I mean, we can look at real estate and say there's this massive disproportion of the bell curve of productivity. 70% of agents in most markets don't do deals. That's bad. It's bad for the market. It's bad for the tech. It's bad for the consumer. We want people to be productive. We want people to be doing good deals, and we want the experience to be good for consumers. But that, in my mind, doesn't happen with this disconnect. So, working in advertising tech, working in all of these things that I saw there, coupled with this relationship, coupled with this democratization of information, coupled with this automation and AI. I know we're going to talk about that a little bit, but pre AI agents and workflow support people, when it was automated rules based solutions for drip email campaigns, automatic postcards, whatever, to me, that's just more machines talking to people versus people. And while there may be some value to it, I think it's been effectively lowest common denominator to it. So I started to take into these pieces and say, well, that process is terrible for the consumer. I don't know about you, but I don't read any email from an agent. I don't read any postcards. I just throw them away. I know some people still do it, and maybe there's still some value to it. But if my buddy who's a realtor calls me up about an opportunity, I want to listen to him. That reestablishes the value of the realtor, reestablishes the connection, the relationship, and makes me feel better about the transaction as the consumer, knowing I'm getting something because he's calling me about it. He's making the effort to come to me and discuss it. And I want to reinforce those behaviors. So the whole idea really started to come like, how do we build a solution that reinforces that? It's not so much about being quote unquote off market. In fact, I don't like the term off market. The property is either active and transactable or it's not. Okay. There are plenty of homes that are on the market where the guy is so unrealistic about their expectations. It's not an actionable home. He doesn't really want to sell it. Okay. By the same token, there's a lot of people who are open to selling if the right buyer came along, but they don't necessarily want to go put up a sign in front of their house, blast it all over the world, and have people ask them a million questions. There's a spectrum there. And so, how do we help reinforce that through those relationships and support those agents who are building those relationships with their colleagues, but also with their clients to have a healthy, fresh, efficient, yet fair marketplace for everybody? And that's where we started thinking about the Wispr Network is I think there's a solution that exists in that world. I think the pendulum is swinging back. I think people are craving connection with people. I think this it was social media first, then it became the Snapchat, Instagram family, and now it's the Hinge, Tinder, whatever it is. Like you just see it constantly disconnecting people. And I believe we want to reconnect. And real estate is a big one, especially for families who are looking to create lasting memories, a lasting home. There's something really intrinsically valuable about that. I believe that at my core, when you establish a residence and you raise children and you raise a family and you build memories, there's nothing more powerful or more important in my mind than that.
Because you're tied to the community at that point, and we as humans create or crave that community connection.
Yeah, we crave it with our immediate family. We want to crave it with our neighbors, and obviously, the real estate agent is a really important salient element to that thing. If you develop that friendship and you know that they're neighbors of yours or somebody you trust, and they understand what you're wanting and needing, especially within your life cycle, that's really valuable because they can help you make good decisions with a point of think it's empathy. I always get empathy and sympathy mixed up a little bit, but the idea is that they have a general understanding about your life stage that they can say, "Oh, I would experience something similar. I know or I'm familiar with this part or this stage of your life. Let me show you what some things that are really valuable about this property versus another one, versus just a couple of pretty pictures on a website. Let me go run and see it. Oh, it seems like it's a good price. Let me throw in an offer." That to me is a rushed bad process versus I know you. I used to have young children. This is what was really cool for me. Maybe that's not for you, but let me give you some reasons of why this house is really, really ideal for a family like yours, right? In my
Mhm.
opinion, right? Again, do you value the opinion? But that conversation only happens when you're talking to your clients and you're talking to colleagues and you're finding opportunities for your clients, not looking at data sets. It's not about
Right,
data sets, right? That's my opinion.
right. So I get it. So Whisper Network has been created so that realtors can really communicate with one another and help their clients achieve the goal that they're trying to achieve, be
That's
it
right.
sell, be it purchase, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But and I also understand and agree with you that the personal touch in real estate is of the utmost importance. Sure, AI can do a lot of the heavy lifting and it can sort through contracts or it can write contracts or it can establish workflows to take some of the pressure off on a day-to-day basis. But what it will not do, what it cannot do, in my opinion, is have that personal interaction and create and establish a relationship that will last over years and will ultimately create revenue. That personal relationship that the realtor has with the client, either from the seller or for the buyer. And that is where AI is falling a little short. That being said, I would like to transition. What are the current ways that you see AI is changing our industry?
I think there's a lot of hype around what they think AI can do. And I think there are some elements where AI is going to be super valuable. And I guess the way I understand AI, and I'm not an expert, but I recognize that digital systems, as I call them, have the capacity to absorb incredible amounts of data, apply a logical flow to them and give you some form of a prediction or a product output. Now, in some cases, it may be ingesting a lot of data and reorganizing it and doing work product for you as an individual. And that's a really simple aspect of it where it helps you reduce the amount of work you have to do. And I think that that is really valuable. Will AI think independently around what you as a consumer feel? Well, I think that I don't know. Well, I guess put it this way. I don't know how a digital AI agent is going to understand tactile feel. sand between your toes. Understand the warmth of the sun in the afternoon when you want the house to face west. They're never going to understand that. It doesn't have skin. It doesn't have the senses we have. What it has is an algorithm, a level of rules that are created. Maybe they're self generated. Maybe it's been given some sort of protocol to figure out the rules at which it's going to operate, but it's still digital. It's still not you or me. It can't replace that. Now, can it do a task? You're like, I need you to go look up this set of data, pull out this result, send an email that makes it sound right. Yeah, it can do that. You can create rules that it can interpret and adjust based upon its interpretation of personalities. That's great. And there's some value to that. But to me, if I see another email that looks like this, and again, you see them all the time, that probably wasn't written by a person. That seems you can still be now it'll get better, it'll hide it, it'll mask it better, and that's what the improvements are for. And so I think that like where you can bring in an agent to help you analyze information and maybe even be predictive about someone's potential behavior and give you some signal. I think there's value there. I think there's value in doing specific workflow. But in terms of you saying to the consumer and saying, listen, the smell of that barbecue when you cook over here at your pit master in your backyard that you have, it's just going to change your life. You're going to sit up there with your family enjoying the summer days and you're going to be just smelling that food and enjoying those things and seeing your kids. And you're going to paint that picture for them person to person. And they're going to buy into that dream and they're going to see that. I don't know how AI recreates that. Maybe I'm naive. It's entirely possible. But when I hear
Mhm.
say, man, when maybe let's just give it a hypothetical. Let's say I'm in my 60s and my kids are grown and I'm now looking at a neighborhood where maybe I had my young family and I remember those experiences. I mean, you have them too. When I was a kid, we used to ride our bikes and say, be home before 10, right? Or before the lights go down. It's hard for me to explain that to my kids. AI certainly can't do it. I want to be able to say, where is the neighborhood where I can let my kids jump on the bike and I feel comfortable that as long as they're home before dark, they're good at 8 or 9 or 10 years old. Some of that stuff is gone from our society, and I think we all feel some sadness because of that. But some of that is still available. And if you're able to help people recognize that aspect of it, I think that is valuable information. That's not easily transferable or replaceable by AI. Your goal is to be like, I know the people in this neighborhood. I know what they want. I know how they live. I know how their families are structured. This is what's so great for you versus just let me jam you into a transaction, which again, that's where you start getting into data mining and just leveraging. Let me have AI tell me the next data, the next data, the next data. I was just speaking to an agent earlier today, and he was expressing how he's got all of these different lists that come in from title and from lenders and from this person and that person, telling them, here's the 10 or 20 people you need to reach out to based upon our AI analysis. Everybody's got it. So what changed? What separated you? Nothing. The only thing that really truly differentiates you and me from each other is us, right?
Right.
Our
True.
person. And
True.
so I think that's that and people are going to like you and not like me and vice versa and they're going to like both of us. And that's fine, but to me that's what's so important. So I know I've gone off on a little bit of a tangent there.
No, 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 you're fine. So that being said, what and we all know that AI is not perfect at this point. We know that it is our today. And we know that AI is getting better and it's certainly going to be a portion of our future. How are you guys implement specifically? What are you doing with AI to make your business run smoother and more effective?
I think it goes into that data analysis and recommendations for the people working. I think as the Batman Robin situation, as a Robin type of a character where you're supporting the lead and you being the agent as the lead, I think that's going to be helpful. And I can think of a couple of examples. One being I have a database of people who are part of my internal sphere. I want to know what's going on in their worlds. Perhaps it's scraping the social media and giving me a summary of some of the activities because maybe I don't have enough time to read everybody's feed every day. That may be a way
Uh-huh.
we can efficiently
Mm-hmm.
stay somewhat connected so that when I reach out to develop a real connection, I'm speaking with efficiency on my time. Hey, I saw that you happen to have a baptism the other day for your kid, or so and so celebrated their quinceañera, or whatever can give you good, real time, actionable to dos, if you will. At the same time, You're right. If I want to manage a whole database of information and reformat it and have it give me information back, it can do that really, really well. Right. The more structured the data is, the better the AI is going to work. But we live in an analog world. We're people. We're not digital. So there's that gap, and I think that's it. So I do think, and that's how we're thinking about AI within our platform. Can we create solutions that help agents truly, with more efficiency, reach out to their clients? I will not bring in AI that replaces an agent. I will only do things that reinforces the agent client relationship. In fact, that's kind of a tenet on our mission statement. Like, as I hold it up, whenever we think about new products or new features, if it's going to replace a phone call between an agent and a consumer, I don't do it because I don't think
Sure.
it's relevant. Lead to agents saying, I now no longer have to call my client. That to me is bad. That's not core to our value principles.
Well, and I would agree with that. And not only is it not core, but I don't think it has the capability at this point of the evolution of AI for it to proactively reach out to your clients and engage them as a human would. I mean, to me, that seems not seems, but I don't see any evidence that that's even possible at this point.
Yeah.
So, with all the hype around AI, what are some of the over promises that you have experienced?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the reality is when you start to look at AI and how it works. So from a systems perspective, every time, whether it's chat or Gemini or Grok or any of the others on the
Right.
consumer interfacing models work and the large language models work there, every time they seem to update it, it sort of shuffles the deck on anything you've built on top of that. And so it's like, oh, I was building something to give me a personality like this to interface with my clients. Let's say in our world, we think, well, maybe there's an opportunity for the traditional website to move to a more concierge version of like an agent standing there, kind of like you do at the Apple store, right? You walk in there, there's a concierge person, and they're like, "Well, what are you looking for? How can I help you out?" You obviously know you're walking in the Apple store, but they're there to kind of route you immediately. You don't walk in and start looking at products necessarily. You can, but really the goal is they're going to help you figure out where you should be to efficiently spend your time. And I think there may be a world where AI starts to do that. The overpromise is these agents are just going to do everything. You're not going to need a person. Everything is going to go away. They can do everything for you, and you can just sit over there. Again, there are aspects where you have structured data, and I think that works. But the ability to truly even communicate between two people, I think they're overselling it. And the example I'd give is if you've ever talked to, and I guess probably the best for people would be like psychologists or psychotherapists or therapy people. I'm sure they talk to people, siblings, families, couples. When people have conflict or they have questions or they're not communicating clearly, you need to create a common framework for which both people can understand. And you need to have intention by both people to want to come together to try to understand how the other person's communicating. I
Mhm.
don't know how an AI can do that,
Yeah,
right? I
I
don't
don't
know.
either. I don't
And
see
it's
it
like,
happening.
yeah, I just don't, you're right. I don't see it happening. Like, and so to me, the promise is, oh, it's going to do everything for you. It can't do that. It just can't. Can it look at a digital image and show you pattern recognitions and disruptions in pattern to identify things in an image? Sure. There's a pixel that's been kicked off, whatever. That its ability to be super precise and super, super detailed, I think is great because that's the benefit of electronics and digital solutions. But I worry, like at the end of the day, it's not person to person. And I don't know how you replicate that, even with quantum computing and everything else, because I just feel like most of it is marketing hype, people who aren't trying to build actual solutions that actually do much. It's just more shortcuts. They're still somewhat rules based. Every AI I've interfaced still has rules that I have to use. Here's another good example. How come Claude is out there letting me work inside of Claude? And I'm reasonably technically sophisticated. I still see how to use Claude in 5 hours and these videos that require people to spend hours to figure out how to kind of use it to set it up for their benefit. Still feels like you need to at least understand how the engineering works to really make it powerful for you. Yeah, maybe there's some very basic use cases. I just feel like you got this opportunity for a huge tool. Maybe it gets there, maybe it doesn't. But I think the limitations are being ignored purposely to try to tell people about how it's going to change the future. It will. I know that there's going to be AI, which is going to change. It's already changed in many ways what we do and how we do it. And that's fine. But I just don't think it's going to replace people the way they think it will.
I think AI is a rock star when it comes to numbers, right?
Mhm.
When it's something math based, it doesn't make mistakes. I mean, it can make calculations in the blink of an eye, which
Mhm.
is absolutely amazing. But when you start to get into the human aspect of it, or the dealings from one human to the other, and you try to substitute AI for one of those humans, that's when things start to break down, in my opinion, or at least that's what I've found so far. But I want to ask this question. So, if you had a crystal ball and you could, I don't, maybe not a crystal ball, but a magic lantern. If you could rub that magic lantern and have AI solve a challenge for you in your business, what would that be? What are the challenges that you face in your business that perhaps someone new starting out, getting into it, can maybe have a head start and recognize this when it shows up later down the road?
If there is a way for AI to really facilitate behavioral change in people, I would be like, great. And what I mean by that is people are somewhat of a creature of habit. And I'm going to really go off topic. When I was a kid, I played sports. Everyone said practice makes perfect. And then my dad used to say, well, perfect practice makes perfect because you don't want to practice something wrong. And I never really liked that phrase because I don't think it's accurate. I think the accurate way is practice makes permanent, right? You practice whatever it is, good or bad, right or wrong, whatever you do, you habitually create that pattern of doing it wrong. And people get lazy within those habits and have a struggle to change their behaviors. Even when they know there is why does Tony Robbins sell so many books and have so many people there? Because he's trying to change your behavior. There is a ton of money. If I could get AI to be Tony Robbins for every person in real time, that would make my life really better because that's the problem. It's like you see something, you know it's good for you, or you see something and you know it's bad for you, but yet you still tend towards it. And again, I'm not going to go down the religious hole of sin and all that kind of stuff, but the point is, you look at paths, you look at behaviors, you look at things you know will lead you to where your goal is, and you choose not to do them, or you choose to prioritize something that's not as effective at getting you to that goal. And that requires you to rewire your own brain to think about things in a different way to approach moving forward. Even as simple as thinking about AI and saying, wow, if I adopt AI in this way, I can make it really powerful versus not. That's same process. So if I had a lantern that could say, if I could get AI to truly convince people within their own head, you're not doing this right, you need to do it this way. And this is going to give you basically to your promised land, an AI version of Tony Robbins in everybody's head, encouraging them to make the right decision and actually having an effect. To me, that would be the awesome opportunity there. But obviously, there's a whole lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Control, conspiracy theory down the rabbit hole. If you look, what is Elon Musk, right? He's got Neuralink or whatever. He's dropping tech in your head with AI, and we're talking about that stuff that's got all sorts of spiritual and consequential applications. But if I could do something where people would be convinced of their own free will to choose to do the right thing because they it just made sense to them. Wow, that makes so much. Yep, we should do that. And again, right thing for me may not be the right thing for you. That to me would be fantastic. The closest thing, again, to get religious, closest thing I know to that would be Jesus, but
Right?
not everybody subscribes to that thing, but that I do. So anyway.
Sure. Sure. That's okay. There's a lot of different flavors out there. If you don't like that particular one, it's okay. All right. I love it. So, let's do a little bit of predicting at this point.
Okay.
So, over the next 3 to 5 years, what do you think AI is going to do for the industry, for the real estate industry? What do you think is going to change?
Well, I think the big things you're seeing now, whether it's voice activated assistants, right, where you can chat to an assistant and they're going to basically set your systems up in the back end for you. I mean, that's kind of there now. I think the ability for large data sets to be managed and to your point, using algorithms to try to figure out what's happening in the market, I think that will continue to evolve down that path. And I think people are going to try to replace humans wherever they can because they think there's value there. I just don't know if it's going to be successful. People are going to try, they're going to try to flip things out. That's where it is. In terms of, I know there's a guy out of Florida, I saw the story about him using AI to basically put together his deal and he saved a bunch of money doing it, but he still hired an attorney or an agent to look over his contracts and still look over it. And at some point, maybe you'll get comfortable enough where you don't feel you need to have a human eye look at it. And so I think people are going to continue to try to push down that world. What I find interesting is that this idea of a self-serve world feels like it's still just 10% of the population. So people talk about it, and I think that's going to be efforted and attempted, but I don't know if it'll actually work this time. Maybe it does. I don't know.
It's not going to replace humans as much as the true value of AI is that it does a lot of the things humans don't like to do, which in turn gives us humans more time to do what we like to do. You think that's a fair statement or not?
Yeah, I think, look, I think there's repetitive tasks, right? Data collection, data processing, data analysis that can be the same process over and over and over and over and over again. And most people don't like to do it. And I think, again, AI is rarely effective at doing a task very fast, very repetitively, and coming up with the same output. And so I think, yeah, I think there's something there. And yeah, I would agree with you in principle that at the end of the day, a handshake and a warm smile and enjoying a beer around a campfire can do wonders for the relationship, wonders for your business. I see it in my own business. When I show up at offices and I sit down with agents and team members and I just talk to them about Wispr or whatever, show them a feature here, just say hello. I immediately have connection with those people that doing a Zoom meeting, automating it, creating a knowledge university and just sending them an email saying just watch that or have your system just doesn't have the same effect.
No, it's not the
And
same thing.
yeah.
Okay, so here we go. This is my final question before I ask you my final question.
Okay.
So, and I got this online too, so I'll be honest here. So, if you and I were to die tomorrow, what is the one piece of advice that you would like to leave behind to those who are interested or considering entering the world of real estate? Based on your experience, you're a guy who's built a successful company, you've been in the industry for decades, your opinion matters. What's the one bit of advice that you would leave?
To somebody entering the market.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say make the effort. And what I mean by that is you have to do the hard work. You still have to make the connection. You still have to call. You still have to sit down. You still have to make the effort. If you're going to be lazy and expect other people to do the work or other people to finish it off, it just won't get done. And so you have to make that effort to make the connections. Eventually, you build process and a roadmap and plans where you can hire people or bring people in to manage some of the things that maybe you don't want to do. But when you're starting out, make the effort to pick up the phone, make the effort to talk to a mentor, make the effort to go have coffee, make the effort to go learn a neighborhood, make the effort. That's it. Just show up and do it. There is nothing magical about it. I've seen it time and time again. Kobe Bryant said it with basketball. You just show up because a lot of people won't. You show up every day. You show up an extra hour every day. You show up for it. And that doesn't mean like I get frustrated when people do the I'm up at 3 a.m. and I know they make memes about it now. I've already like solved the world's problems by 6, had meditation for 3 hours, worked out for I can't get up that early. I got kids. I drag sometimes. But what you can do in front of you, what you have the energy to do, just make the effort. Don't slack. Make one more phone call. Go out and meet somebody. You don't have to be Superman on every event. Just go say hello. Just make the effort. Just go be friendly. Go be who you are. You will find your tribe of people who love you. There'll be their tribe of people who don't necessarily align with you, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you don't make the effort, if you don't get out there, you're not going to see anything. You're not going to see any results at all. You're just going to wonder why aren't results happening? Well, you're not putting in any effort. Now, you might be putting effort in the wrong direction. You might be saying, oh, I need to go, whatever, meet agents and go do things. And instead, you're crafting the best email in the world to send and blast out blindly to folks. I mean, okay, there's effort in that, but you're not necessarily focused on making the effort to get to know people, making the effort to get to meet people. And maybe that's the 1A of that statement. Make the effort, but make the effort with real people. Figure out how to
Right.
get in front and
That
talk to people.
interpersonal connection.
Yeah. No matter what you do. And I'll say one more statement that I thought was really fascinating when I was like right out of college. One of the first, a buddy of mine, a roommate, everyone used to always say, "Oh, it's who you know is going to help you out in life." And he goes, "No, I had a professor one tell me it's who knows you." Because I know lots of people, but they're not going to do anything for me. But the people who know me and like me and trust me, and you and I are just developing a new relationship here. Now we've invested. Now I want to help you out. That doesn't happen just because I happen to know, name the person. I may have met him one time, but if I don't invest in that person to get them to know me and me to truly try to get to know them, then there's no way that that person can help me achieve the goals that I want. And I think that that's really critical. It's all those things you kind of heard growing up or I did here growing up. It just do this and network and do that. But that's cliche. What does that mean? What does that mean at the ground level? Go up and say hello. Just say hello. Just introduce yourself. Just get to know them. Find out about their family. Whatever you're comfortable saying, make that effort. You do that and things will happen and things will change. And then you'll be like, I don't understand why it's happening now all of a sudden. Well, because you keep stacking up that effort and that
Right.
extension of the hand. And
Right. You put in the effort.
yeah,
My dad puts it a certain way. He says, listen, Robert, it's not what you know, it's who you know and how much they like you. But how are they going to ever like you if they don't know you? And that goes back to your point where it's all about creating those relationships and putting in the work and being transparent and honest and real
mhm.
so that we are two humans or a human to human connection. And that is really what business is all about. There's a ton of technology out there and things change on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, human to human relationships, that is how we all got here. And it's important in business. Now, my last and final question to you is, have I left anything out? Is there anything else that you would like to say to my viewers and to ultimately your viewers, because you'll have access to this as well? Is there
Yeah,
anything you'd like to tell us?
yeah, I would say we're kind of on that line that we were just talking about. You kind of triggered something for me just to kind of finish that thought. I think that's a big element. When we're talking about getting to know someone and having them get to know you and establishing a relationship, it occurred to me over time that a genuine curiosity about other people, not you're not networking with intention of gaining something. I'm networking because I'm genuinely curious. When you exhibit curiosity in others to genuinely know what they're about and what's important to them, most people want to do and reciprocate. And that sharing of what's valuable and interesting to you then creates that connection. That connection, coupled with, I believe at a core sort of foundational principle, most people want to be helpful. So
Right.
that core belief that most people, not everybody, but most people want to be helpful, and you exhibit a genuine curiosity to get to know them, and then that becomes vice versa, they will find ways to help you. They will find ways to help point you in a direction, connect you with somebody, whatever it means. And so that's that portion that you were just talking about there. It's like that process, which I don't think people really truly grasp, because I've been to a lot of networking events and some people are literally, they're going from person to person to person. Who can help me get up the ladder and do whatever? That person is very easy to identify, doesn't usually work out very well for them. They probably get frustrated. But the person who seems that it happens naturally, and it's like, man, that guy just got elevated to this great stature because that person showed a genuine interest in others and didn't really wasn't in it for what do I get out of it, because the process and the genuine curiosity came forward. People saw what they were interested in, thought, oh, I might be able to help you with what you're interested in because I like to be helpful. And I think that happens, and I think those people gravitate towards each other. So getting into the weeds in a little bit of just like relationships and networking in general, but I do think it's an art form that has become too transactional in some ways. And I think that where people can sit back and say, I'm going to get to know people today, that's why I'm going out. I'm going to this event to get to know people and to try to remain fresh and curious about it, because you never know who you're going to meet and where you may be able to help somebody. And vice versa, they may be able to help you, but you only get there if you're genuinely interested in what they're interested in. If you're just want to blast yourself away, then maybe you find someone to help you, maybe you don't. But I don't think you do yourself enough service. So
I agree. And I think with the onset of COVID and how we all started working from home, and it's been years now that
yeah.
we've been on this program, it's easy to kind of step away from how we used to do it, which was with a eye to eye contact and a handshake, and you knew a person or you got to know a person by being next to them. And okay, we've had to adapt a little bit, and Zoom is obviously pretty effective and quite helpful. You don't have to travel as much. But at the end of the day, it does not replace that interpersonal communication that we need not only for our own well-being, but to do business. And that's, in my opinion, really what it's all about. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank my guest, Thomas Gabriele from the Wispr Network. Thomas, thank you, man. This has been an interesting conversation, and I appreciate you and your willingness to share with not only me but to our viewers. And I wish you continued success. Thank you very much.
Yeah, listen, I really appreciate it. It was fun. I like getting into deep conversations, especially on a Friday afternoon. I wish I'd brought a beer up here. It always makes it even a little more fun, but that's okay. I got enough time and a couple more meetings, and then I can have my beer. No, listen, it's a pleasure. It's good to meet you more face to face, and we chatted a few times. Let's stay in contact and stay in front of each other. And next time you're on this out this neck of the woods, we'll have to get together for a beer by the beach and continue to develop a relationship.
I would love that. Thank you.